Well, just to see what did we talk about.
All right, good morning. This is our last episode of our mini-series. We're just going to give everybody a few minutes to join us.
Good morning.
Okay, so if you're jumping on with us this morning, please leave us a comment. Let us know that you're here. You can also start a watch party by sharing with your friends and family. All you do is click the share button on Trinity Chiropractic's page, and that will post to your friends and family. Good morning, Judy. Thanks for joining us this morning. Okay, just a few more seconds here. And that will post.
Perfect.
Hey, Roger.
What up, dude? Good morning. Good morning. Okay, let's get the party started here.
Okay,
this is our last one, right?
Yes.
Last one. We've done how many? 6?
7.
7? This is the 7th. So we're going to end our series, and if you haven't watched any of it, it's all on our Facebook page, or our YouTube as well.
Both.
Yeah,
yes.
Facebook and YouTube, and you can go back and watch all of them. I mean, we started with the fact that we can regenerate and gave examples of like the liver, the heart, the lungs, the brain. Even the brain can regenerate. And we started off saying like 20 years ago when I was in school, I didn't learn that. Like that wasn't a thing. That it was like you had a finite number of neurons, and once those neurons expired, it was it. That was it. But now we've learned that you could actually regenerate neurons, brain cells, and your brain. And so that's really fascinating to know and to have, I want to say, like power and dominion over our bodies, right? Based on the choices that we make. And then we went into stem cells and chronic disease and heart disease and cancer, how you can regenerate those things naturally. We went through brain health, and today we're going to just talk about reframing aging, because every day we hear, well, it's because I'm old. Well, I'm 40 now, or I'm 30 now, or I'm 70 now, or I'm 85 now, or whatever the age is. That's the belief that our society has. And there's a certain element of truth to that. I was at a park this weekend, and there was a gentleman who was at one end of the parking lot. He had to walk all the way across the park, and I just watched this guy walk, and he was probably, I don't know if he was in his late 50s or mid 60s or something like that. But the guy was like degenerated. He couldn't walk properly. He had all kinds of health problems. You can see he was on a list of medications just by watching this guy. And he wasn't, he was struggling to walk 100 meters, and he had to go probably, 500 meters or something like that. And I just thought about, what is the mentality of this guy to even get to that point? You know what I mean? And the idea is, the mentality that we have in society is that it is normal to completely degenerate and break down and basically crawl to our graves for the last 15 years, 20 years, 30 years of our lives, which is insane, especially given the new biology that we've just laid out for everybody in the last 7 weeks. And so the idea is to reframe the aging in the sense that even if you are and you have degenerated joints, or you have brain issues or heart issues or whatever the case is, that over time, and it might take years, it literally, for some people, it takes years to regenerate certain joints or to regenerate certain areas of their body, but it is possible. And so to give up, to me, is insane. And I want to say, I don't know if people give up. I think there's a small percentage of people who do give up, but I also think there's a percentage of people who just have the medical mindset. And the medical mindset is just never getting to the root cause. So if you have a degenerated cervical spine or shoulder or knee or whatever the case is, the idea is we'll just, instead of getting to why that joint degenerated or why that area of the body degenerated, the idea is we'll just give medications, or we'll just do surgery on it, or whatever the case is, never addressing the basic fundamental underlying cause of what created the degeneration in the first place. And I find like if you're still like I want to say, if your health care is still dependent on the medical doctor, now don't get me wrong, there are certain medical doctors out there who've like learned this stuff, but it's 1 in 1,000. It's not 10% of them. It's 1 in 1,000. It's extremely rare, right? But if you're still basing your healthcare on the general practitioner, I think that's a big mistake, because the whole mentality leads to degeneration and breakdown and an acceleration of aging over time. And I know this is a very strong statement, but I truly believe that after dealing with 40 or 50,000 patients over the last 20 years, you can see a difference of people who have that medical type thinking versus people who have, like, I don't know, more of an optimistic outlook, basically, because we went over how your genes are not your destiny. We went over that stuff. And the reality is that you could rewind your biological clock. Like, age is not a disease. You know what I mean? And it doesn't guarantee that you'll develop one. Although if you live like most people, you will, because most people have that medical mindset. But if you focus on the things that matter in life, you could literally rewind your biological clock. We work with a medical doctor in Spain, who some patients send their blood to him to have read. And sometimes he'll say, in the blood report when he sends it back, that this person's biological age is 60 when they're 30. You know what I mean? Like, he sees that even though the chronological age is 30, their blood looks like they're 60 years old. And the good news is that you can do things that we've gone over and more that will reverse that. I mean, just look in Naples, Florida, for example. Look at the average life expectancy in the United States. It's 78.5. In Naples, Florida, here, it's 83.4. We live 5 years longer if you live in Naples than if you live in, I don't know, Atlanta, Georgia, just 9 hours up the road or something like that. Why is that? And I'll tell you why. And I'm going to tell you through when we first moved here 10 years ago, my wife was describing Naples to to our family members who live in Canada, and she described it as it's like spring break for 55 plus. They golf, they ride bikes, they what else? They swim, they play pickleball, they're on the beach, they play tennis. That's what they do in their community or amongst different communities, and then they go to the beach, and then they go out for dinner. You know what I mean? And that's really a blessing that we live here, because we're outside all the time, and it's way easier to be active here than it is in Winnipeg, Manitoba at this time of year, because it was minus 50 with the wind chill, my mother told me the other day. Do you know what I mean? And so it's very difficult to get outside, and there's no sunshine because it's only light from between 9 and 3, and then it's dark the rest of the time. And so, but the results show it, and that's why Naples, Florida is consistently named the healthiest place to live in America. It was on Good Morning America like a year ago or something like that, where it was ranked the #1 place, the healthiest place in America to live. And one of the reasons why is because of the sense of community that we have here, because people live within communities and then develop friendships and like feel that community support. And the other thing is that we stay active and we do things that regenerate our bodies. We get out in the sun, we move, we play sports, and we remain active. It's very easy to eat healthy foods. That's the first thing that I noticed here moving from Canada is Canada, if you're eating fruits and vegetables in the winter, it's coming from like weeks away on a boat from somewhere. You know what I mean? Because we can't grow it locally in the snow, but here you're growing stuff year round. And so so the taste of food is much more vibrant here than it is up north. So all of those things contribute to developing new stem cells, the pluripotent cells that you can develop in your, it's like the one cell that develops in every other cell in your body into every other cell. So this one stem cell develops into a muscle cell, a nerve cell, a fat cell, a tendon, a ligament, a liver cell. It's unbelievable. But in order to stimulate those things, you have to take the right actions. And that's one of the reasons why in Naples, we live much longer than in the rest of the United States, never mind the rest of the world. This is a long living area right here because of the happiness factor that we have here in Naples, Florida. But it's not just like regenerating and like stopping the degeneration. It's also continuing to regenerate, because we're in a state of regeneration all the time. So what are strategies that we can use to continue to regenerate like that?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it here in the office, right? We've talked about the 5 essentials to max living, and what we, I've been talking about for a couple of years. Dr. was 20 something years, about 5 years or so. But the 5 essentials that we talk about, if you live a 5 essential life, you're not going to have to deal with a lot of the stuff. Like, let's say you develop some autoimmune issue that now you have to regenerate, right? If you're living that life, most likely you're not going to end up with something that you have to then reverse. So it's chiropractic, obviously, nutrition. So what food you're putting in your body, and we've talked about the advanced plan and the core plan. And for some people, you have to do the advanced plan, which may be a little harder to do when you're used to eating a bunch of sugar or processed foods, but you're going to have to do that on a regular basis. Oxygen and exercise, getting up and move your body. Like what Dr. Joel was saying, here in Naples, it's a little bit easier to do in December because you can get outside, you can ride a bike, you can go swimming, you can go play tennis or golf or whatever it may be. Mindset, lowering your stress levels, and then the toxicities, minimizing the toxins in your life, right? Getting rid of stuff in your house like handles, the shampoos, the makeups, all that stuff that are also causing toxic exposure in your body. Vaccines as well. Which is a very important topic right now, because everyone thinks that they have to inject themselves with a vaccine to prevent themselves from getting a virus. That viruses are crucial for your body to live a healthy lifestyle.
That's a whole other topic that we should talk about at one point.
Yeah, and if you're on our YouTube page, you can find a couple other videos that we have up there on a lot of this information that we talk about. But I just want to talk a little bit more about the chiropractic care, because it's absolutely important that your spine and your nervous system is functioning like it's supposed to. And your spine protects the most important system, which is that nervous system, right? Because your brain controls everything. And if your spine is misaligned, or if you don't have it in the proper alignment, it leads to degeneration over time. Right. And so what Dr. Joel was also mentioning is that a lot of times people blame that degenerative process on age. But that's not the case, because nowadays we see more kids coming into the office with more degenerative processes because they're looking down at a cell phone or an iPad, and their spine is not in the proper alignment, and it's led to degeneration. So I want to show you this video that's very, very cool to see. And it shows the process of degeneration if you don't have the spine in the proper alignment, if you don't have the proper 45-degree curve in the neck. Go ahead.
Okay.
So this is showing what's called Wolff's Law. And Wolff's Law is the process of degeneration if you have abnormal stress on the bones. Right, so it was in a normal position. As it begins to straighten out, you begin to lose the curve, which is done through abnormal posture, looking down at a cell phone, at a computer, sitting down for long periods of time. Could be a trauma, it could be a car accident. But if it's not corrected, you can see the degenerative process in the bones and the disc spaces, which is then affecting the nerves, leading to subluxation. Right, and so the subluxation is that the pressure, the misalignment of the bone affecting the communication from the brain through the nerve to the specific organ that nerve goes to. So it's fascinating to see the process.
That happens over how long?
That is over the course of 20, 30, 40 years. Right, so if you don't correct that, that's what will lead to that degeneration if it's not corrected. But then if you go to I'm going to show you another video here. This is what's done with the chiropractic adjustment. Just by getting movement in the spine, you can see here on the video, it starts showing a lack of movement. Go ahead and press play there.
I'm going to show them where to look.
If you look down in the lower part of the neck, you'll see that there is less movement before the adjustment versus after. Do we see that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so
can't
down
see
in
the
here.
cursor though.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so the lower bone, you could see lower 3 bones aren't moving as well. That's before the adjustment.
So that's it's a degenerative state.
Yeah, so if nothing's done about that, that will lead to the degeneration. This is after the 5th adjustment.
That's the adjustment.
That's the adjustment.
And now that's the post.
Yeah, and then this is the movement that you can see in that same spot that didn't have any movement. Now when the neck is flexed or bent forward, you can see that there's so much more movement in that lower part of the neck, right? So, as chiropractors, we don't just tell you that getting adjusted on a regular basis is good because we enjoy adjusting you. That's not the case. It's because it gets movement in the bones in the spine, which then allows the most important system to function at 100% or as close to 100% as physically possible, right? So we've talked about regeneration and the way that your body is able to regenerate, and your brain is what tells everything what to do, right? That's how important that brain and the nervous system is. So if your spine is misaligned, if it's not in the proper alignment, it doesn't allow the brain to function at 100% like it needs to.
Right. Oh, let's get to the next one here. Okay. So obviously, like Dr. Alex said, the nervous system plays such a huge role in regeneration and healing, really, which is where you should start. And obviously, as chiropractors, we are biased to that. But just like the video you just saw, it's a completely different motion after getting adjustment, right? So all those joints are allowed to move more. There's no arthritic process happening. Degeneration is stopped in its tracks, which is why it's so important. And the people that we know that get adjusted, our families and friends, our patients, are the healthiest people we know.
Sure.
And that's not a coincidence. But because they're allowing themselves to take care of their nervous system through chiropractic, is giving them the most motion, which is motion is life, right? If you stop moving, you get stiff and sore and arthritic process starts to happen. So preventing that is definitely the first place to start, really. And if someone comes in, let's say with osteoporosis, and we look at that on the x-ray, it's very easy to see on an x-ray, you can kind of assume that they've had at least 20 years of zero resistance on their body. So that's a really long time not to be moving your body, getting outside, having some resistance, because your body needs resistance to grow. Your bones need resistance to get stronger. Your muscles need resistance to build new fibers and function together. So getting outside, not even just walking, you need to do a little bit more than that. So breaking a sweat, putting weights on. Pickleball is awesome too. A lot of people play pickleball down here. So doing those activities are going to be where you need to start. And even people, I'm sure someone has seen it on this live stream, but even the TLC show, My 600-Pound Life, there are people literally.
That's Sam's favorite, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. So even people on My 600-Pound Life, which are 600 pounds, heal.
Yeah.
Once they start doing the right things and implementing the right 5 essentials really in their life, they lose the weight and they get better and they don't have these issues anymore. So if those people can heal their bodies, I know that our patients and families and friends can do that. But the amount of work is different for everyone. It's still work, even if you just do the core plan or if you have to do the advanced plan. It's a little bit harder and everyone's situation is different. But it's still work for everyone. So really where we want you to start is by taking care of your nervous system. If you haven't had your spine checked yet, that is definitely the first place to start. Taking control of your health starts with your nervous system because your nervous system controls all health, function, and healing in your body. So if you leave us a comment, if you haven't had your spine checked, share with your family and friends, or give us a call in the office. We would love to help you and lead you toward health and regeneration this year. So the office number is 239-597-6099, or leave us a comment and we'll get back to you. I hope you guys learned something from the regeneration mini-series. It was a lot of fun for us to do with you to share all these different topics. So leave us a comment if you have any questions, and I'm sure that we'll be back on here soon with new topics for you.
Yes.
Bye, guys.